Greetings fellow cultivators. Welcome to Audio Nova. Remember to like and subscribe to support the journey. Today, we're diving into the story of what's the point of cultivating immortality if you don't have money. Yu Jincheng and Xiong looked at the ever-increasing bill with each breath they took, and their hearts ached more and more. On the other side, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin strolled along the shaded paths of the reserve, looking at the endless forest before them, feeling a gradual sense of peace in their hearts. Breathing in the oxygen from the oxygen tank, Zhang Yu said with some emotion, "The first time I came here, I didn't prepare an oxygen tank, and I had to be careful with every breath, afraid of wasting any time, so I couldn't properly see the scenery here." Bai Zhenjin nodded slightly, looking at the quiet and distant forest under the moonlight, slowly walking along the path. She felt her spirit relax for the first time in a long while. Bai Zhenjin suddenly recalled that it seemed like a very long time since she had simply taken a walk aimlessly like this, without cultivating or studying. And it was this feeling of walking with Zhang Yu without having to do anything that made Bai Zhenjin feel incredibly relaxed. If there was a day when we didn't have to study or cultivate, when we could daydream as much as we wanted, stroll as much as we wanted, waste as much time as we wanted, that would be great. But thinking of this, Bai Zhenjin sighed softly, deeply understanding how difficult it was to achieve this in Kongshu. The pressure of the foundation establishment exam always followed her like a shadow. Yunjing's overwhelming strength was like a needle stuck in her heart. Every time she thought that the immortal capital lord might still be working hard, she couldn't completely relax. But Bai Zhenjin really felt so tired, increasingly tired from high school until now, and the visible future would only become more tiring year by year, sometimes giving her a feeling of being unable to breathe. Oh well, at least take this opportunity to relax a little. Just then, Bai Zhenjin heard a burst of fist wind and turned to see Zhang Yu practicing again. "You little brat, you're still grinding, huh?" Bai Zhenjin opened her mouth, finally sighed helplessly, and followed suit with her own practice. She sighed inwardly. Alas, this is the fate of high school students. To avoid being eliminated, dedicating all your time and energy is the most basic requirement. Zhang Yu, feeling the receding chill in his mind, cursed inwardly. This idiotic ritual really doesn't give me a chance to relax. However, although they were seizing the time to cultivate, being in the reserve, they didn't dare to absorb the surrounding spiritual energy, for fear of bankrupting their current impoverished selves. On the other side, Yu Jincheng and Xiong frowned as they watched the two of them actually cultivating. "Why are they cultivating here?" Yu Jincheng gritted his teeth and said, "I'm running out of money." Xiong sighed and said, "Hand over your phone. This is the company's employee loan channel. Borrow some money from here first." Yu Jincheng was surprised. "Our company also has an employee loan channel? What's so strange about that?" Xiong smiled and said, "Which company doesn't have this? Focusing on employee financial services, allowing employees to get salary increases and enjoy life sooner, that's the company's slogan. Haven't you always wanted a raise?" Xiong nodded towards the phone in Yu Jincheng's hand and said, "Apply for a salary increase pre-experience here, and you can automatically borrow a sum of money from your salary every month." Yu Jincheng was not interested in any early experience, but now he had to borrow money if he wanted to continue tracking Zhang Yu. Although unwilling, Yu Jincheng finally gritted his teeth and borrowed a sum of money to tide him over. They continued to watch Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin cultivate for a while in the reserve. Just as Yu Jincheng was thinking that these two might have come here specifically to cultivate, and today's surveillance might be fruitless, they saw Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin move again, and soon entered a red pagoda's breeding base. Inside the breeding base, the red panda Anew looked at the arriving duo in surprise and said, "Why are you here? And why didn't you make a reservation and just buy tickets to come in?" Due to a lack of funds, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin hadn't been to the breeding base to mooch off the spiritual veins for a long time. Hearing Anand's question, Zhang Yu smiled slightly and said, "We're not here to cultivate, just here to wander around." Bai Zhenjin touched Anand's head and asked, "Anan, have you lost weight?" Anan responded vaguely to the two of them, always looking preoccupied. Zhang Yu naturally saw that Anan had something on her mind, but he was in enough trouble himself, so he didn't have time to care about others. Finally, Anan couldn't help but say, "Are you guys not coming here to mooch off the spiritual veins anymore? Please come here to cultivate, okay?" Looking at Anan with her tail drooping, Bai Zhenjin and Xiong Yu exchanged helpless glances. Where would they find the money to mooch off the spiritual veins when they had already spent all their spare money? Moreover, whether it was Xiong Yu or Bai Zhenjin, their mana was getting closer and closer to the 100-unit key refining limit, and they didn't need the spiritual veins as much anymore. Even if they had money, they would definitely buy cultivation techniques first. Looking at Bai Zhenjin and Xiong Yu's silent appearance, Anan became dejected. Bai Zhenjin couldn't help but ask, "Is Zhang Wenwu having some problems?" Anan said softly, "Red Pagoda High School is running a body refining experimental class, but in addition to grades, you have to pay a registration fee to attend. Wenwu doesn't have enough money, and his grades have been falling behind recently. I want to raise some money for him, but my salary is too low. If you guys are willing to come and mooch off the spiritual veins, you don't have to tutor him, just give me some money." Bai Zhenjin looked at Zhang Yu and said, "Why don't we introduce Yu Xing'an over here? He should need to mooch off the spiritual veins, right? Anyway, he's going to spend money to cultivate in the spiritual veins, right? Why not come here? It's cheaper too." Zhang Yu stroked his chin. He had become more and more familiar with Yu Xing'an these days, and he also understood a lot of the kid's operations. If he comes here to mooch off the spiritual veins, this kid can earn another commission. He will definitely be willing, and he will definitely keep it a secret. So Zhang Yu nodded and looked at Anan and asked, "Although we can't come, we can introduce a rich person to come. Do you think that's okay?" Anan's eyes widened, and her furry head nodded repeatedly. Zhang Yu said, "Then it's settled. I'll contact you later." After solving Anan's problem, Zhang Yu asked, "Do you have surveillance cameras here that we can watch?" So Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin came to the surveillance room and instantly saw every corner of the breeding base. Okay. Zhang Yu quickly found Yu Jincheng and Si Zhiyu appearing in the cameras see when these two people came in. Anan also felt a burst of surprise. This breeding base was old and remote, and it was rare to see tourists for 10.5 months. Today, in addition to Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, 2 more people had come. Under Anan's operation, the surveillance video quickly reversed. Looking at the changing images in the lens, Zhang Yu thought, "They came in shortly after we did. Then it seems likely that these 2 people are tracking us." Bai Zhenjun said, "These 2 guys are very unfamiliar. They may have the ability to change their body shape and face model." Zhang Yu himself, as someone who could also change his appearance, had naturally expected this. But the image can be ever-changing, but the way they spend money to buy tickets can't. The moment these 2 people bought tickets to enter the breeding base, their accounts were recorded. He thought to himself, according to the plan, I'll tease them later, spend more of their money, and interfere with their mentality. Speaking of, they should have recorded a lot of footage of us practicing. Later, I'll give them a big one, and then directly report them for secretly learning martial arts. Zhang Yu glanced at the Thunder Talisman, ready to be launched in his phone. This talisman left to him by Zhang Pianpian could sound a thunderous alarm and summon the armed forces of the patrol team for law enforcement within a minute. Zhang Yu had already contacted Yan Yi, the captain of the patrol team, and he could activate it at any time. This was the plan that Zhang Yu, Fuji, and Bai Zhenjun discussed to find a handle for Deng Bingding. Although Deng Bingding is a 6th-grade Sci-Fang wandering god, for the wealthy families of Songyang City, she can already be considered a very high status. But having a high status doesn't mean she can do whatever she wants. On the contrary, because of her high status, she can't directly control the wealthy families in Songyang City. She has the power but nowhere to use it. But if we can catch these 2 guys who are tracking me, and they secretly photograph the spring and autumn endless zen that I learned in the foundation establishment exam, then we can let Deng Bingding use the confidentiality of the foundation establishment exam candidate information as a reason, giving her a chance to intervene in Songyang City. However, Zhang Yu also understood that the so-called plan could not keep up with changes. Although they were planning in this general direction, they would need to respond temporarily if they encountered unexpected situations. Various pieces of information quickly flashed through his mind. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin greeted and planned to leave the breeding base. Zhang Yu led Bai Zhenjin out of the surveillance room and walked along the road they had come from within the breeding base. They soon ran into Yu Jincheng and Si Zhiyu, who were looking for them. Yu Jincheng and Si Zhiyu looked at the demon hybrids in the study room, pretending to be ordinary tourists, but their minds were all focused on Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin. Carefully following behind the two, Yu Jincheng looked at the bill again, and a trace of impatience and agitation flashed in his eyes. If we continue to follow like this, the money I borrowed will be used up. And who knows if they will take action today? What if these two guys are just out for a stroll today? As a recent college graduate, Yu Jincheng had to repay his upbringing loan, his college loan, and buy medicine to maintain his cultivation, so he didn't have much money to begin with. The thought of spending all his money today, without gaining anything, made his eyes flash with irritability. Borrow another sum of money? His salary didn't increase, but his debt increased sharply. Just as Yu Jincheng's expression grew increasingly gloomy, he watched Jiang Yu walk out of the breeding base gate and put his phone into his pocket, a trace of determination rising in Yu Jincheng's heart. With a flicker of his figure, he silently and swiftly followed Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin. With my skills as a legitimate college graduate, even if I act in front of them and take one or two things from them, I guarantee they won't notice a thing, leaving them without even a hint of what happened. Yu Jincheng had seen Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin's recent exam data, knowing that the two were probably high school students with late-stage key refining cultivation. While that was already considered extremely excellent at Songyang High School, in his eyes, they were just two kids. Especially since he, as a commercial espionage major graduate, had already mastered skills such as silent movement, covert action, and theft. Using them against high school students was simply a piece of cake in his eyes. As long as I take their phones, then use the company's tools to copy the information within, and put the phones back before they notice, I can slowly crack the information I get, and immediately know many of their secrets. Why would I need to foolishly tail them like this? They are just two high school kids. I should have done this a long time ago. Just as Yu Jincheng's figure flashed, about to catch up with Zhang Yu, Si Juyu's expression subtly changed, and he also followed, raising his hand to try and stop Yu Jincheng. But facing Si Juyu's action, Yu Jincheng coldly snorted in his heart, how can a junior college student like you stop me? Seeing Yu Jincheng accelerate again, silently approaching Zhang Yu from behind, Si Juyu cursed inwardly, forced to give up stopping him, and instead rushed towards Bai Zhenjin, intending to cover Yu Jincheng's actions. Si Juyu sighed inwardly, alas, this kid is too eager to make a contribution, too impulsive. These two high school students, Jiang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, are easy to deal with. The two of us are enough to handle them, but you don't even listen to the leader's instructions. What good will it do you even if you make a contribution? Alas, I'm going to be writing reports to death when we get back. At the same time, Yu Jincheng's right arm drew a streak of after images. 6 martial arts techniques were simultaneously activated, combined, and unleashed by him. In the blink of an eye, his arm extended from behind Zhang Yu towards Zhang Yu's pocket with a speed exceeding ordinary human visual perception, silently and without a sound. But just as Yu Jincheng made his move, Faheim spoke in Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin's minds. Careful, someone is about to attack, coming for Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu thought to himself, oh, they actually dare to attack directly? Are Zhen and I being underestimated? Or has something else happened? Bai Zhenjin thought to herself, there's no need to let them succeed, so Yuzi should counterattack in time, right? Then what I need to do is to try my best to entangle the two who might want to escape immediately after failing. Just as a smile appeared on the corner of Yu Jincheng's mouth, his hand about to reach into Zhang Yu's pocket, he suddenly felt his palm touch a soft piece of cotton. But although this cotton was incomparably soft, a burst of violent rebounding force came from within. Bang! Accompanied by a rebounding force coming from Yu Jincheng's fingertips, he saw the clouds and mist around Zhang Yu's body fluttering, and clusters of formless cloud ganki burst out from under his clothes, surrounding Zhang Yu's figure like clouds of mist. What? Yu Jincheng was slightly stunned. This kid can actually detect my actions? And he blocked my attack just now. At this moment, Yu Jincheng felt surprised, but he was not truly stunned. The reason he hesitated was because two choices in his mind made him feel uncertain. Since I've already made a move, I might as well just snatch his bag, and afterwards, I'll have the company help me clean up the mess by making it look like a robbery. Leave immediately, anyway. They haven't suffered any losses, the police will be too lazy to deal with it, they won't be able to find out who attacked them. But at this moment, strands of divine power gathered in the sky, and finally turned into a thunderbolt that exploded with a bang. The muffled rumble of thunder reverberated in the sky, as if to awaken the entire world at once. Thunder Talisman. Yu Jincheng was shocked again, not expecting that after his attack failed, the other party would directly use such a talisman. Go. Si Juyu shouted in a low voice, his entire body shot out like a cloud of black smoke, immediately planning to retreat. A trace of unwillingness flashed in Yu Jincheng's eyes, but he knew that this was no place to stay for long, and he also planned to leave with a step back. However, at this moment, a series of crackling sounds came from Yu Jincheng's side, and a slight static like burning pain rose on his face. Where are you going? Only to see Bai Zhenjin, her whole body surging with lightning, had already rushed to Yu Jincheng's side amidst a roar. The invisible sword key at her fingertips brought a crackling thunderlight, and she stabbed towards Yu Jincheng with a sword. Yu Jincheng snorted coldly, and shattered the invisible sword key with a punch. He was about to continue punching towards the opponent's body, but found that Bai Zhenjin moved her figure, already giving way to a large area of flower bushes behind her. Bai Zhenjin said indifferently, be careful not to pay for the damages, okay? Remembering that every plant and tree in this protected area belonged to Red Tower Company's assets, Yu Jincheng subconsciously stopped his punch. Because of this sword and this flower, Yu Jincheng was stalled by Bai Zhenjin for a moment. And this moment was the time for Zhang Yu to arrive. Boom. 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 Amidst the roaring sounds, Zhang Yu's surrounding clouds and mist transformed into 4 white giant arms, using the techniques of Limitless Cloud Hand, Imperishable Seal Method, Bach Dragon Mountain Flipping Hand, and Dragon Elephant Mountain Crushing Palm, to slam fiercely towards Yu Jincheng. At the same time, wisps of sharp energy wandered around the perimeter, carrying faint arcs of electricity, as they constantly aimed at Yu Jincheng. It was Bai Zhenjin, who had temporarily retreated after her initial failed sword strike. These 2 little devils. Seeing Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin joining forces to besiege him, Yu Jincheng's already agitated and annoyed mood worsened. You really think I'm afraid of you? Want to keep me here? Can you even manage that? Yu Jincheng suddenly roared, his muscles abruptly swelling, instantly ballooning his previously thin frame to nearly 2.8 meters in height. This was his true combat form. His usual physique was merely altered, using cultivation techniques to conceal his identity. The terrifying aura of a college graduate was unleashed, sweeping fiercely towards the 2 high school students before him. Amidst a series of explosive sounds, Yu Jincheng, like an enraged Vibra, unleashed a flurry of fists and palms, instantly shattering the 4-armed astral key that Zhang Yu sent his way. But the next moment, a sword aura shimmering with lightning had already pierced towards Yu Jincheng's back, forcing him to turn around and disperse it. And just as he dispersed this sword aura, he heard a proof sound. The latest and most complete novels are on 69shu.com. A bolt of lightning shot out from Bai Zhenjin's mouth, striking towards Yu Jincheng's right eye like a sharp arrow. Spit. Seeing this, Yu Jincheng sneered inwardly, a petty trick. As a dignified college student, how could I not know this move in actual combat? With another poof, 2 streams of saliva collided in midair, exploding with a bang and dissipating into the air. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Zhang Yu circulated his magical power, once again transforming the formless cloud astral into 4 giant arms to bombard Yu Jincheng. Although it had been a long time since he participated in martial arts competitions, like the arena matches, Zhang Yu's current combat ability had already surpassed his former self during those competitions. Especially in the process of constantly sparring with Bai Zhenjin and Yu Xing'an, he had gradually discovered the true combat style that best suited his martial arts. Initially, Zhang Yu was accustomed to spreading the formless cloud astral all over his body, like a suit of heavy armor protecting his entire being, using it to resist the opponent's attacks. But he soon realized that this approach was extremely wasteful of astral ki. After all, when 100% of the astral ki was spread throughout the body, only 10 to 20% of it would actually be attacked and used to defend against the opponent, while the rest was wasted. So Zhang Yu tried, during his battles with Yu Xing'an and Bai Zhenjin, to condense astral ki at the point of impact the moment before it was struck. This way, not only could he use the formless cloud astral more efficiently, but the defensive effect was also better. But Zhang Yu soon discovered that this still couldn't unleash his true potential, those level 10 martial arts techniques. Ultimately, Zhang Yu tried to transform the astral ki into giant arms, which could not only be used for efficient defense, but also to perform various martial arts techniques, leveraging the advantages of his martial arts cultivation. And at this moment, Yu Jincheng, who was fighting Zhang Yu, quickly discovered the secret. As a graduate of the 72nd Lower School, Yu Jincheng's cultivation had already reached the peak of ki refining. Not only had his Dao heart, magical power, and physical strength all reached the limits of ki refining, but he had also cultivated dozens of techniques to level 10. Every punch and kick he delivered now erupted with immense power, enough to send an outstanding high school student, like Xiong, Hailong, flying, with a single move. But the four astral ki giant arms controlled by Zhang Yu either parried, blocked, pulled, shifted, diverted, or rebounded, stubbornly withstanding the power of Yu Jincheng's attacks with incomparably profound martial arts skills. Yu Jincheng felt as if he had stepped into a mud pit, being held back by the opponent. But after all, he was a dignified college graduate. Under his full-force bombardment, the giant arms transformed from Zhang Yu's astral ki, quickly, shattered, and dispersed. But whenever this happened, Bai Zhenjin, wandering around, would use lightning magic, combined with various insidious sword techniques, to stab at the vital points around his body, forcing him to first repel Bai Zhenjin. And after repelling Bai Zhenjin, Zhang Yu would already have recirculated his astral ki, and charged at him head-on, again. In addition to that, he had to be careful of Bai Zhenjin's electrified spit, while Yu Jincheng's own spit had little effect on Zhang Yu's astral ki, or the elusive Bai Zhenjin. Feeling that he was actually being temporarily held back by the two, Yu Jincheng was again surprised. Did these two little devils hide so much strength during the exam? At this level, even if they were placed in the top 3 high schools, they would be among the best in the 3rd year. Moreover, the two of them, one fasting, one slow, one yin and one yang, one unconventional and one orthodox, cooperate so perfectly. Just as Yu Jincheng was marveling in his heart, strands of divine power suddenly appeared in the air. Then, the divine power transformed into lines of text, floating in every corner of the scene, surrounding Zhang Yu, Bai Zhenjin, and Yu Jincheng, who were in the midst of battle. Warning! Warning! The patrol team is enforcing the law on the scene. Everyone gather your magical power, and stop moving. In the distance, Yu, who was about to turn back to help Yu Jincheng evacuate, frowned and sighed inwardly as she watched this scene. The patrol team came too quickly. She helplessly shook her head, and her whole person had once again retreated into the darkness and disappeared without a trace. When the armed force of the patrol team arrived, Zhang Yu, Bai Zhenjin, and Yu Jincheng all stopped what they were doing, even raising their hands to show that they had no intention of continuing the fight. Around the three of them, streaks of sword light darted back and forth. The sword light was like lightning surging through the air at high speed, and the cold sword intent it emitted caused Zhang Yu's skin on his hands and face to sting. Zhang Yu thought to himself, is that a military-grade flying sword? He knew that unlike the civilian-grade flying swords he had seen before, this type of military-grade flying sword, which only armed members of the patrol team could use, could transform sword energy into a rainbow, forming a sword light that could be large or small, and extend or retract freely. Zhang Yu thought, if the military-grade flying sword in front of me were to attack, it would probably chop us three up like chopping melons and vegetables. At the same time, 4 people wearing patrol team combat uniforms were already standing above Zhang Yu and the others. Zhang Yu glanced slightly and could feel a surge of heat from the ki and blood, as if there were 4 large furnaces floating above their heads. It should be a military-grade combat technique. Zhang Yu thought to himself, with military-grade flying swords, plus military-grade combat techniques, even ki refining experts at their peak, who have graduated from university for decades, like teachers Lei Jin and Wang Hai, would probably be defeated instantly in front of them, and die in a single exchange. And Zhang Yu knew that this was only the armed force of the patrol department, one of the 8 major divine departments, under the Heavenly Court, in the suburban area of Songyang City, on the first level of Kongshu. He thought to himself, it is precisely because the 10 major sects strictly control military grade and above techniques, dharma bodies, and magical treasures that so many high school students, college students, corporate dogs, and even rich people abide by the rules set by the 10 major sects. Force, after all, is one of the most essential foundations behind all social rules. At the same time, Yu Jincheng on the other side was even more obedient, not daring to make any movements. After becoming a security guard for the company, the first lesson Yu Jincheng learned in his onboarding training was not to engage in armed conflict with any government or divine departments. especially with the armed personnel among them. Various military-grade forces were by no means something that their company employees could contend with. Once injured or even killed in this process, they would not receive any compensation, and the company would not provide any condolences. Therefore, Yu Jincheng was cautious at this moment, not daring to make any movements that might cause misunderstanding. He had heard many examples of people being suspected of resisting, just by raising a hand or reaching into a pocket, and then being instantly killed by flying swords. In the next moment, Zhang Yu and the others felt a silver light sweeping over them, from the eyes of one of the armed members. Then the person looked at Zhang Yu and said, "Was it you who used the thunderclap talisman?" Jiang Yu quickly pointed to Yu Jincheng, and said, "He stole my." The person waved his hand. "I'm not asking you about that. We'll talk about the case later. I'm asking you to settle the call fee first." "Ah. What does that mean? Do you have to pay the bill before you enforce the law, after calling the police?" Even after living in Kongshu for a year, Zhang Yu felt shocked at this moment. The person's name was Gong Ziechi, and he snorted coldly when he heard this. "Ah, what ah? If you can't even afford the call fee, we'll turn around and leave immediately. You can call the constable yourself and wait slowly." Since the incident where the patrol team enforced the law, and the reporter did not have enough balance, owing the premium enforcement service fee for the thunderclap talisman, the patrol team now requires payment before enforcement, every time they are dispatched at the call of the thunderclap talisman. Yu Jincheng, who was on the side, looked at Zhang Yu with hope when he heard this, secretly praying that the other party could not afford the money. Yu Jincheng thought to himself, "This Zhang Yu is a poor ghost. What if he really can't afford the money?" Under everyone's gaze, Zhang Yu took out his phone and said, "I'll pay." The minimum charge for a thunderclap talisman dispatch is a 10,000 call fee, which Zhang Yu was naturally prepared for, and he obediently took out his phone to pay the bill at this moment. Seeing that the 10,000 call fee had been received, Gong Ziechi nodded in satisfaction, and his eyes were immediately filled with kindness when he looked at Zhang Yu. And whether it was Zhang Yu's illusion or not, he always felt that after he paid the money, the four-armed members of the patrol team in the sky seemed more energetic and more imposing. Gong Ziechi puffed out his chest and looked at Zhang Yu and said, "Dear Premium Thunderclap Talisman customer, hello, this is Gong Ziechi, a member of the 7th District Patrol Team of Songyang City, extending my greetings to you. Please describe the specific details of the case." At this moment, Gong Ziechi and the other three members were looking at Zhang Yu with anticipation and excitement, thinking, kidnapping, homicide, commercial dispute. It's best to have a tax evasion case. How long has it been since we made a sale? You better have a big case worth tens of millions, or more. It's no wonder that Gong Ziechi and the other three were hungry and eager. The income of the armed members of the patrol team has been decreasing year by year. Gong Ziechi often sighed in his heart, "Alas, the public security is getting better and better, and everyone likes to play tricks and doesn't like to use knives. How can we combat personnel create performance? We get off work on time every day for 8 hours, and we can't even work overtime if we want to. We can only do logistics and write materials for other departments to earn some extra money, to barely make a living." At this moment, Gong Ziechi and the other three looked at Zhang Yu, hoping that the other party could give them a big one. Zhang Yu pointed at Yu Jincheng and said, "He tried to steal my phone. When I caught him, he tried to run. My classmate and I tried to stop him, but he hit us instead." Gong Ziechi was silent for a moment, then asked again, "That's it? You're using a thunder summoning talisman to call everyone here, for such a trivial matter?" In that instant, the high spirits of Gong Ziechi and the other three immediately drooped again. Gong Ziechi said calmly, "Let's settle the bill first." Looking at the 8,000 yuan fee on the bill, Zhang Yu couldn't help but ask, "How did it come to 8,000 yuan? You just flew over here, right? There wasn't even a fight, was there?" Gong Ziechi glanced at him and said indifferently, "This is a protected area. Do you think we can enter without paying admission, breathing fees, or energy cultivation fees? And later, taking you back to deal with the case, collecting statements, investigating evidence? Don't these require work, hours, and effort?" Helpless, Zhang Yu paid 5,000 yuan, and then said to Bai Zhenjin, beside him, "Ah Zhen, I'm out of money. Can you help me pay another 3,000 yuan?" Seeing this scene, Gong Ziechi and the other three became even more disappointed. "Why use a thunder summoning talisman, when you're so poor?" Couldn't you just call the police? After receiving the money, Gong Ziyi said, "All right, all three of you, come with us." A moment later, Zhang Yu and the others arrived at a patrol bureau in the distant suburbs of Songyang City. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, as the reporters, were taken to an office in the case handling area. Gong Ziyi said calmly, "Wait here. Someone will come to talk to you later to understand the situation. The newest and most complete novels are at 69 Shuba." Zhang Yu said, "By the way, that person had an accomplice. He ran away before you arrived. Maybe you can check the nearby surveillance and ticket purchase records." Gong Ziyi frowned and interrupted, "All right, we have our own methods for handling cases. We don't need you to teach us." Gong Ziyi really couldn't muster any interest in such a small case of phone theft. He'd rather do a side job in that time and earn more money. After Gong Ziyi left, Bai Zhenjin glanced at the camera in the office and didn't say anything to Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu then opened his phone and informed the wandering god of the four directions, Deng Bingding, about what had happened here. Of course, unlike the simple phone theft incident he told Gong Ziyi and the others, Zhang Yu added some of his own guesses in his conversation with Deng Bingding. For example, he suspected that the other party had been following him recently, secretly filming his practice sessions, and was investigating his participation in the Foundation establishment exam. After all, Zhang Yu couldn't tell the patrol team about the information related to the Foundation establishment exam. Deng Bingding only replied with 3 thumbs up emojis to Zhang Yu's message. Zhang Yu wondered, what does that mean? Is she going to help or not? Fuji chuckled and said, in Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin's minds, according to my understanding of righteous gods, 3 thumbs up is a pretty high rating. 1 level higher than that would be 3 fireworks. These are all slang terms used by righteous gods. You'll understand them naturally when you see them more often. Then Zhang Yu sent a message to Yin Ni, describing the process of his phone being stolen and being taken to the patrol bureau. Yin Ni replied, which patrol bureau? Yin Ni, I'll find you an acquaintance. Yin Ni, by the way, did you get a medical examination for your injuries? Yin Ni, if it's a mediation, what's your psychological price? Looking at the lines of text sent by Yin Ni, Zhang Yu knew that Yin Ni regarded this case as an ordinary theft and fight, and was teaching him how to get the other party to pay more money. About 10 minutes later, just as Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin were waiting and cultivating, Gong Ziyi returned to the office again. However, at this moment, Gong Ziyi had a smile on his face. If your Captain Yin hadn't contacted me, I wouldn't have known that you two were also part of the patrol team. Why didn't you say so earlier? I'm very familiar with your Captain Yin Ni. I even had dinner with her last month. After being greeted by Yin Ni, Gong's gaze towards Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin seemed to carry a hint of warmth, as if looking at his own people. He said, "Don't worry, you two are completely the victims in this matter. I'll call someone over to take your statements in a moment, and then you can leave. As for that guy, he's really audacious, daring to attack a divine assistant in broad daylight. He's definitely going to pay dearly this time." After saying that, Gong Ziyi left again. His performance surprised Zhang Yu a little. He thought to himself, it seems that Yin Ni has quite a bit of influence in Songyang City. But after Gong Ziyi left, he didn't return for a full half hour. Zhang Yu felt impatient waiting, and wanted to go out to inquire about the situation, but found that the office door was locked at some point. At the same time, Bai Zhenjin said, "Yuzi, look quickly." Zhang Yu looked in the direction Bai Zhenjin was pointing. Through the glass window of the office, he could see Yu Jincheng walking out of the case handling area, in a swagger, accompanied by several patrol officers. Bai Zhenjin said in surprise, "Is he just going to be let go?" As if seeing Bai Zhenjin and Zhang Yu looking out from behind the window, Yu Jincheng smiled slightly at the two of them, then turned and left. Listening to Audio Nova. Watching Yu Jincheng leave, just as Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin were feeling puzzled, the office door opened, and Gong Ziyi and another member of the patrol team walked in. At this moment, the smile on Gong's face had completely disappeared, and he said coldly, "Regarding today's mutual assault case, I'm here to take your statements." Mutual assault? Zhang Yu said upon hearing this, "How is it a mutual assault? I said he was trying to steal my phone." Gong Ziyi said indifferently, "Isn't your phone in your own hand? I saw you using it to pay." Zhang Yu said, "That's because I stopped him before he could steal it." Gong Zhe said coldly. Then how do you prove he was trying to steal your phone? According to the testimony of another passerby at the scene, you attacked him first, and he was forced to retaliate. Zhang Yu was slightly stunned upon hearing this. I attacked him. Then look at the surveillance footage, he reached into my pocket from behind first. Gong Zhe flipped through the documents in his hand, and said lightly, the surveillance camera at the scene was broken, and didn't capture that scene. Looking at Zhang Yu, who was silent, Gong Zhe continued, so you have no evidence to prove that the other party was trying to steal your things? Have you been short on money recently? Have your monthly exam scores in school declined? Do you feel that your mental state has been unstable recently? Listening to Gong's highly suggestive questions, Bai Zhenzhen couldn't help but say, what do you mean? Are you trying to imply that Zhang Yu attacked first? Gong Zhe frowned and said, these are all normal routine inquiries. As for whether you attacked first or he attacked first, what you say doesn't count, and what he says doesn't count. Everything is based on evidence and the results of the investigation. Bai Zhenzhen said angrily, then why was he released, and we have to stay here? Gong Zhe said as a matter of course, he can afford bail, and has applied for a delayed review. Everything is reasonable and legal, so of course he can leave first. After we finish questioning you, you can leave after paying bail. Bai Zhenzhen became even more angry upon hearing this, we are the ones who reported the crime. Now we have to pay bail to go out. Gong Zhe said indifferently, reporting a crime doesn't mean you haven't broken the law. Looking at Zhang Yu, and Bai Zhenzhen, in front of him, Gong Zhe knew, in his heart, that the matter before him was not as simple as bail. Because not long after they interrogated Yu Jincheng, the power of the Wangxing Group was activated. As a wealthy and powerful company, with an entire legal service team, its power far exceeded ordinary people's imagination. And when this power was used to target these poor students, Gong Zhe, although he didn't know why the company was doing this, could already see the ending. Especially after he sensed that his superiors were vaguely expressing their inclination towards the Wangxing Group, this made Gong Zhe completely change his face, not remembering the warm and kind words he had just said to Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen. After Gong Zhe finished taking their statements, he left, leaving Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen in the office. Bai Zhenzhen touched her stomach, feeling more and more annoyed, and pounded on the door, saying, I need to go to the bathroom. However, no one paid attention. At this moment, Zhang Yu's phone vibrated, and it was actually a message from Zhu Chechen. Zhu Chechen, the school is very dissatisfied with your participation in fights outside of school, and has decided to give you, and Bai Zhenzhen, a disciplinary action. Zhu Chechen, remember to apologize to the other party, properly, and don't lose face for Songyang High School. Zhang Yu narrowed his eyes, as he looked at Zhu Chechen's message, thinking, what does this mean? Provocation? After a while, Yunni sent another message, what's going on? The higher-ups said you were involved in a fight, and want to revoke your God assistant status. Bai Zhenzhen looked at the messages on Zhang Yu's phone, feeling a wave of pressure coming at her, like an invisible giant palm, tightening its grip on them little by little. Looking at all of this, Fuji laughed loudly, it seems that the Zhu family has taken action. This is a good thing. They're turning this into a mutual assault, and putting pressure everywhere, obviously trying to take this opportunity to mess with you, either extort money from you or get you detained, so, you can't go to school. Hee, but no matter what, they don't know that you've added Deng Bingding as a friend, and they don't know that Deng Bingding has already started investigating the Zhu family. The more involved the Zhu family is in this matter, the greater the price they will have to pay to get out of it. Just as Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen were patiently waiting in the patrol bureau's office, Yu Jincheng had already returned to the security department of the Wangxing Group. Walking into the minister's office, Yu Jincheng saw that in addition to the minister, Si Zhiyu, and another lawyer, were also present. The security minister looked at him and said coldly, who told you to take action without authorization? Yu Jincheng, I. Slap. The security minister slapped Yu Jincheng in the face, and said coldly, if the company didn't still need you, you would have been fired long ago. The palm print on Yu Jincheng's face sent a burning pain, but he didn't dare touch his face, and could only bow and say, I'm sorry, minister, it's all my fault. Security minister, give me your phone. Hearing these words, Yu Jincheng's face twitched, a trace of fear flashed in his eyes, but in the end, he handed over his phone. The security minister skillfully opened the company's employee financial platform and said, the bail this time was paid by the company for you. Now use your own reserve funds and quickly reimburse the company. Hurry up. Yu Jincheng gritted his teeth and could only obediently follow the instructions under the security minister's gaze. The security minister continued, next, you must insist that Xiong Yu attacked you first, and then you engaged in a mutual assault. The company's lawyer will guide you on how to do it specifically. Remember, if you act recklessly again, don't even think about finding a job in Songyang City. The lawyer on the side said, the specific method is very simple. When you're at the patrol bureau, just say this. Yu Jincheng frowned as he listened to the other party's words, just keep mediating with him like this. Keep pestering him. Keep harassing him. He didn't understand, this is clearly a good opportunity to mess with him, right? With the company's power, it wouldn't be a problem for him to not be able to go to school next. The latest novels are at 69chu.com. We can completely threaten him to get the information the leader wants. Before Yu Jincheng could finish speaking, he was kicked in the stomach by the security minister, and he groaned, bending over like a cooked shrimp. The security minister said coldly, I just told you, didn't I? Don't act on your own initiative. Do what the leader tells you to do. If you understand, execute it. If you don't understand, execute it even more. The company doesn't need you executive-level people to have your own thoughts. Do you understand? Yu Jincheng barely stood up and nodded, saying, I understand. But Yu Jincheng's heart was still full of confusion. He didn't understand why the company could easily crush poor high school students like Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, but always wanted to let them off the hook. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin are just ants. Of course, it's easy to crush them to death. But to step on them, roll them around, but not crush them to death, forcing them to seek help from the ant nest. That requires a lot of skill and timing. In the ward on the 333rd floor of the central building, Ji Yang looked at the city view outside the window and sighed inwardly. The new employees these days are really getting more and more impetuous. But Zhu Yang wasn't flustered. After all, after experiencing many years of ups and downs, he had encountered too many mistakes and errors made by his subordinates. He wouldn't immerse himself in this mistake and complain, but would work hard to adjust after the mistake and look for new opportunities in this given situation. So after learning that Yu Jincheng had attacked Zhang Yu and was caught on the spot by the patrol team, Ji Yang immediately took action and used his influence to start controlling the situation. We can't pretend that nothing happened, that will definitely arouse the vigilance of the evil god behind him. But we can't kill Zhang Yu in one breath and cut off the evil god's clues. Zhu Yang thought to himself, we still have to use Zhechechen's name to handle things. Disguise the whole thing as Zhechechen hiring someone to set up a trap to deal with Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin in order to take revenge on them. At least at the level of Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, we must control the entire event to the extent that Zhechechen is bullying them. While thinking, he made phone calls, and with the Zhu family's background and the Wangxing group's influence, he quickly achieved his goal. After doing all this, Zhu Yang let out a light breath and thought to himself, next, we need to increase manpower and continue to monitor Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin through multiple channels. Next, whether they seek help from the evil god or realize something is wrong and want to escape, we should be able to gain something. But before that, Ji Yang thought to himself, since we've already done it, why not just detain them for a few days and arrange for people to teach them a lesson inside? Maybe that will make them reveal more flaws. Even if they are students taking the foundation establishment exam, but everything is reasonable and legal, they can't blame me, right? Just as Zhu Yang was weighing the timing, suddenly his phone vibrated. Then there was a series of frantic vibrations, and messages flashed wildly on the phone screen. The God department is here. They are searching the group building. Chairman Zhu. The security department has been sealed off by the true God, and everyone has lost contact. Xiong, what exactly is going on? Why is a 6th-rank true God investigating you? Uncle, a true God has descended on the mansion. Chairman Zhu, our funds have been frozen. Looking at the messages, Ji Yang was a little confused at first. 6th rank. True God. Investigating me. But soon, as more and more messages appeared, he felt like layers of nets were enveloping him, tightening and tightening, making it hard for him to breathe. Outside the office building of Wangxing Group, warning light screens formed by divine power were floating inside and outside the building, not only sealing off all entrances and exits, but also enveloping the entire building. Inside the security department, all members, including the security chief, were gathered in the hall, guarded by two armed members of the patrol team. Although there were hundreds of security personnel belonging to Wangxing Group on site, none of them dared to act presumptuously in front of the two armed personnel. The two armed members of the patrol team were also very confident that they could handle hundreds of people with just the two of them and their two military-grade flying swords. But at this moment, the group of company employees suddenly began to stir. An armed man shouted, "What are you doing? Don't move. Don't move. I'll release the flying swords if you move again." At this moment, an employee pointed to the countdown timer above his head and said, "Officer, we'll be deducted pay for being away from our jobs for too long." Another person shouted, "If this keeps getting deducted, I'll have to borrow money to go to work again." Someone else asked the person next to him, "If I get stabbed by a flying sword, will there be money to compensate me?" Others also started to stir, all clamoring to return to their work positions. At this moment, the security chief raised his hands, appeasing everyone. "Everyone, don't worry, the company understands everyone. During the investigation period, it will all be counted as off-duty time, not counted in working hours, and there will be no performance appraisal. Everyone can make up for the vacant working hours by working overtime in the future." Hearing that the investigation would be conducted during off-duty hours, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Yu Jincheng was also standing in the crowd at this moment. He glanced at the strips of divine power notices floating in the air, outside the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, flashing with warning lights. Yu Jincheng was shocked in his heart. What on earth happened? They even surrounded the entire office building. Could it be that a company leader evaded taxes? Is our company going to be finished? In his opinion, only a major event like tax evasion would alarm the gods to seal off the entire building. And at the thought that the company might be finished just like that, leading to his unemployment, a wave of worry surged in Yu Jincheng's heart. Then Yu Jincheng heard the voices in front of him. He turned his head and saw the security chief, who had kicked him not long ago, constantly nodding and bowing to an armed man. He only heard the security chief say politely, "Officer, our Wangxing Group has always had a good relationship with the Xiong City Patrol Brigade. We have been a copyright enforcement partner for the past few years. I wonder what exactly is being investigated this time. Is there anything we can help with?" The other party just glanced at him coldly and did not answer. However, another armed man next to him said, "Don't inquire blindly. Even we don't know what this operation is about. You have even less authority to know." The armed man who had been silent just now frowned. "Don't say unnecessary things." Then he turned to look at the security chief and said coldly, "Go back and stand properly. Someone will come to investigate your situation later." Seeing that he couldn't get any information out of them, the security chief could only return to the crowd with a trace of unease on his face. He worried in his heart, could it be that the company secretly pirated other companies' cultivation methods? Or did the company smuggle from other cities? Looking at the big scene in front of him, the security chief only felt that something must have gone wrong. He could only comfort himself, anyway, it definitely has nothing to do with this lower-level people. It must be some big leader above who is courting death, in order to increase profits. A moment later, with the fall of divine light, Huang's issues projection had already appeared in front of everyone. His gaze swept over everyone present, and countless related data were already floating back and forth in his sea of consciousness through the network. Seeing the arrival of this ninth-grade meritorious officer, everyone present looked awe-stricken and saluted in unison, worshipping the god on the spot. Yu Jincheng was secretly shocked in his heart. A true god actually came to investigate in person. Could it really be a tax evasion case? But what could this have to do with our security department? At the same time, Huang Ziku had already locked his gaze on Yu Jincheng and Sijiu, and said, "You to come with me. I have something to ask you." Yu Jincheng and Sijiu looked at each other, a trace of astonishment flashing in their eyes. The two followed Huang's issues projection into the office next door, quickly thinking about what things they had done recently that were worth investigating by a true god. Besides tracking Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, Sijiu, and I haven't done anything else these days, right? Yu Jincheng thought to himself, could it be that they are looking for us because of Zhang Yu's matter? How could their little matter cause such a big commotion? Looking at the warning light screens outside the window that sealed off the entire building, Yu Jincheng shook his head, denying this idea. Sijiu, who was on the side, also had similar thoughts in his heart, wondering if he had accidentally stumbled into some major event. However, Huang Zichu's next words shattered the two people's illusions. Huang Zichu, how long have you two been monitoring Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen? Yu Jincheng was slightly stunned, and said slowly, I don't understand what you mean. Huang Zichu smiled coldly, flicked his finger, and a light screen appeared next to him. It was the surveillance footage of Yu Jincheng and Si Jiu, taking the subway in different images and appearances, entering the protected area, and visiting the breeding base. He only heard Huang Zichu say faintly, although you constantly changed your figures and appearances along the way, your payment records can't deceive people. Don't even think about denying it, and don't think that Wangxing Group can protect you. Strains of divine power swept over like waves, pressing the two of them tightly against the wall with Huang Zishu's words. Huang Zichu then threatened, this matter has caused a great deal of trouble, and has already attracted the attention of a 6th-grade upper god. If it goes wrong, the entire Wangxing Group will go bankrupt. Yu Jincheng and Si Jiu were both shocked when they heard this, but they couldn't figure out how could these two poor student ghosts, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, attract the intervention of a 6th-grade god. Huang Zichu waited for a long time, seeing that the two of them didn't even mean to take out talismans. He thought to himself, alas, they don't even know how to use good impression talismans. What kind of people are these companies recruiting now? As the True Gods blockade and investigation of Wangxing Group unfolded, the entire group's operation suddenly came to a standstill, causing huge losses every minute and every second. Many shareholders, leaders, and directors began to use their connections to inquire about the news, wanting to know what exactly had happened and what the gods wanted to investigate. But the more they inquired, the more surprised they felt. Because they found that no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find out the reason for the gods' actions this time. They couldn't even get any news even if they inquired with other divine staff, or even true gods. The level of confidentiality was far beyond their expectations. But they were not without any gains. Judging from the information collected by the gods and the personnel being interrogated. Zhang Yu, Bai Zhenjin, who are these two people? Why are the gods constantly investigating matters related to them? Did this big commotion have something to do with these two people? As the investigation of Wangxing Group continued, large and small forces in Songyang City gradually received the news. Yun Ni, as one of the many patrol team leaders in Songyang City, naturally learned about some of the information. Is it because of the Foundation establishment examination? Yun Ni had already speculated about the timing of Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen's departure from the city several times, so she thought to herself when she heard about Wangxing Group's situation. But no matter how bold the Zhu family is, they shouldn't dare to interfere in the Foundation establishment examination. This time, I'm afraid that the 6th-grade true god is seizing the opportunity to bite off a piece of meat from Wangxing Group and the Zhu family. Then what is the identity of Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin in this? Even if there is the excuse of the Foundation establishment examination, a conflict can actually attract a 6th-grade true god. Could it be that the two of them, like Zhang Pianpian, have a great god behind them? The more she thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Jiang Pianpian, Zhang Yu, and Bai Zhenjin became more and more unfathomable in Yun Ni's mind. At the same time, Yun Ni had already guessed the impact of this incident on Songyang City next. During this investigation, the gods will inevitably investigate the matter of Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin this time, and inevitably support these two candidates for the Foundation establishment examination. For those who don't know the relevant information about the Foundation establishment examination, in their eyes, that is, a 6th-grade true god is taking action to support Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin and bleed Wangxing Group and the Zhu family. And for those who know the relevant information about the Foundation establishment examination, as long as they are interested in investigating, they will soon guess the possibility that Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin participated in the Foundation establishment examination. But at this juncture, they will definitely close their mouths and not reveal any information. Even if an insider is asked, at most they will say that Zhang Yu has the support of a true god and has a great background, right? Only by doing so can the student information of the Foundation establishment examination be prevented from being leaked. Yun Ni thought of the Zhu family again. Then what will they do? They must try their best to prove that they have no intention of investigating the Foundation establishment examination. This time they were caught with a handle. Then they have to define this attack on Zhang Yu, as an ordinary public security incident. Thinking of this, Yunni smiled slightly and said, the key to the matter is, on the one hand, to feed the gods who came this time, and on the other hand, to see how Zhang Yu, and by Zhenjin, cooperate with them, and how much they ask for. The Zhu family is probably already operating on both sides, at the same time. Inside Songyang High School, Zhu Shechen was sitting in the quiet room to practice, slowly breathing in spiritual energy, and refining mana. But he couldn't help but think of Zhang Yu, and Bai Zhenjin. As soon as the company took action, it sent these two directly to the bureau. Alas, individuals are so small in front of the company. Just as he was sighing in his heart, his phone suddenly vibrated. Zhu Shechen, who was practicing, originally didn't want to answer the phone, but as the phone continued to vibrate, he picked up the phone. Looking at the content on the caller ID, Zhu Shechen was shocked in his heart. Father? As one of his father's many sons, Zhu Shechen rarely received news from him, even though his grades were already good. But looking at the message sent by the other party at this moment, Zhu Shechen only felt like one bomb, after another exploded in his face, shocking him. Wangxing Group was blocked by the gods. The family was also investigated by the Divine Department. A 6th grade true god. Zhang Yu, Bai Zhenjin's baker. Seeing his father's last reminder, Zhu Shechen still felt a little unbelievable. The backer behind Zhang Yu, and Bai Zhenjin, is actually a 6th grade true god. No wonder these two can rise so quickly, no wonder they always look fearless. I'm afraid it's not just Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin. This 6th grade true god may also be the existence behind Zhang Pianpian. At this moment, Zhu Shechen only felt a sudden enlightenment in his heart, and then he became worried about what the outcome would be for him to be involved in this struggle. At this moment, Zhu Hao, who had been in charge of security work recently, came to Zhu Shechen and looked at him and said, some things are not convenient to say on the phone, so your father asked me to convey them to you. He only heard Zhu Hao say, he knows that this matter was led by your uncle, and has nothing to do with you. But after all, this time he was caught with a handle. There are still some things you need to do.